you don't have to have 25K a month. $400 a month was my paradigm shift, where Stephen Covey talks about the paradigm shift. That shifted my mind because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is paying my truck payment. And I told
Yes.
to do this 10 more times. And that covers everything.
This is the Passive 25K podcast, a podcast built around the vision of creating wealth through passive income for ourselves and others. The idea of creating income while you sleep seems like a dream come true, but for most professionals, turning this into a reality is a different story. On this show, you will hear real people breaking passive income streams down to the basics, giving you the next steps to start your own passive income journey. If you're new to the show, my name is Kyle Reedstrom from Fargo, North Dakota, where I get to work with my team of agents and investors each day to complete our goal of $25,000 a month in passive income. Now, let's get right into our next conversation. This is the Passive 25K podcast with Kyle Reedstrom, home of Passive Income University. You guys, this is our community of people doing this passive income thing, from vending machines to e-commerce to storage units to mobile home parks. You guys, this is where we gather to start our passive income journey and complete our passive income journey. But what I'm excited about today is episode 27, Investing in Land versus Homes with Brent Bowers. Brent, we're super excited to have you on the show, man.
I'm just super excited to be on the passive income show, 25K. I like this. And that is a sweet background.
You've been someone that's on this journey. You've been doing it through a different way, and we're always open to different ways to do this, finding your different streams of income and then passive income at that. So Brent, I want to give you a second to introduce yourself to our audience. Tell us who you are, how you got to this point in your career with investing, in essentially what you do, man.
Yeah, my name is Brent L. Bowers, and L does stand for land. Yes, it does.
Yes.
I started in real estate in 2007, got my real estate license, got my, teeth kicked in 2008, 2009. I joined the military. I quit. I was a big quitter on real estate because ultimately I was getting into real estate to earn passive income with rentals, and it was a rough time. And joined the military, was on a couple combat deployments back to back, and then got started back in the real estate in 2013. I started house hacking and, renting out the rooms to roommates, and met my beautiful wife. We got married in 2015 and started having babies. And then I was on track for combat deployment number 3, and we had our baby, and I had to go to the field for 4 months before I left for 9 months. So it's just like my life was going down the drain, I felt, because I was like, oh my God, like, I'd already been through one divorce because I was gone all the time in the military. I saw history repeating itself. I was getting scared to death. I have a 8-month-old child that I've only seen for 1 month. And I was like, okay, something has to change. I have to get enough income coming in. I didn't know what passive income was in 2015. I didn't know there was a good word for it. But I was like, I need to make enough to pay my expenses, which was like $4,500 a month, which is hardly anything back then.
Mm-hmm.
So I set out on a mission, and I started buying and selling land, and I would seller finance the land. I would let people make payments to me. And I started on 0% interest loans and figured out I could charge a lot of interest for it, and ultimately started building up that passive income. I just looked at last year, we were roughly $21,000 a month in passive income. That's if we didn't flip any land or assign the contract. That was just our payments we received. But
Wow.
It's been an incredible journey. I'm taking half the month off in March coming up here. And it's really refreshing to know that my income's not going to go down if I don't work. And we built it up to that point. And that ultimately allowed me to get out of the military and to have financial freedom, time freedom, geography freedom. So passive income, whether, like you said, from vending machines, like I literally saw in my gym the other day, the vending machine was out, and it was out for like 6 months. I was like, that could be an amazing passive income, but I don't want to manage it. And then a realtor actually put a vending machine in there. But it could be from anything, gumball machines, having your own business that someone else does. So it's amazing.
Dude, yes. And you brought up a couple of great things here, man. $21,000 a month in passive income. Part of the show is to make people believers that this can happen, Brent, you've built this to this point. And I mean, we call ourselves the Passive 25K podcast because the vision for my wife and I is $25,000 a month in passive income. That's the vision. We've been walking down that. That's the finish line we want to cross. And man, you're right there with land investing. And I'm so excited to dive into this topic, man. I know the listeners are like, hey, how the heck does this work? And you brought up a couple of buzzwords that I want to touch on. One, namely being seller financing. That's a big part of how this strategy works, right? I know this is maybe on the back end. We're not talking about, we'll get into the land acquisition and all that stuff because I will definitely have questions around that. But talk to me about the seller financing aspect and collecting those payments because that's the passive part.
Well, before I do, I must say that I got a little intimidated when I saw the 25K per. I was like, wait a minute, I'm not currently at 20K per month in payments right now. We're just under 22,000 currently. But because I was like, told my, I don't know if I could be on this show, and she goes, well, you forgot about the rentals. So we actually take land money and buy rent. Bought our office building, we rented that out, and a couple Airbnbs and apartment complex. So we are there, but it's really, I'll tell you, it started with $400 a month. Yeah. And that's what I want to get through to your audience is like, you don't have to have 25K a month. $400 a month was my paradigm shift, where Stephen Covey talks about the paradigm shift. That shifted my mind because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is paying my truck payment. And I told to do this 10 more times. And that covers everything. And the seller financing, why do I love seller financing so much is because how much is it going to cost me each month? They don't think about the actual total cost, kind of like our mortgage. Like, okay, I can afford $800 a month. They don't care what they're going to pay. $100 a month turns in $900,000 over a 50-year period, where the house will only cost you $150,000. If you look at a $200,000 mortgage at 6% interest, if you pay it for 30 years and never refinance, you're paying back $430,000. That's not 6% interest. You're only just paying 6% base per annum. So they're building your payment from that 6%. So financing, I try and figure out what the buyer can put as far as a down payment and a monthly payment that they can afford each month. So we don't put them in the negative and take all their money out of their bank account. But I just want those consistent payments, and look at any land deal as, okay, this one's going to, no, we just try and add $250 a month, and we try and sell one per week. So we do that 4 weeks in a row. That's an extra $1,000, $1,000 a month coming in. We do it 3 months in a row. We're at $3,000 more per month. Really explode this very quickly. And your listeners might be thinking, oh my God, I don't have the money for that. And we can talk about how to get that too.
Man, this is getting me very excited because, I mean, if you really think about it, everybody's familiar with a mortgage, and it's using the power of the mortgage concept, the financing concept, the bank concept to your advantage, right? And I like to do this every now and then. I want to role play this a little bit. I want to come at you, Brent, and say, hey, I'm interested. Let's say you listed, I'm going to use my territory. Like Minnesota has a bunch of territory with trees and lakes and lots. Okay. So I'm going to say, let's say hypothetically you own a lot or a piece of land in Minnesota. I come to you and say, hey, I saw you listed this for $49,000 for the land. I'd like to buy this from you, right? Take it from here. Like, I'm an interested buyer on this piece of property. If you can follow.
Yeah, generally, I try to get anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000 down. So it's really easy for people to come up with about $1,000. Yeah, most people can come up with $1,000, and I'm going to figure out that payment. So if I go to Google, and I'm going to do this right now. So let's just get this scenario right. I don't want to just make up numbers. I'm going to Google loan calculator. Mm-hmm. And let's just say we've got this one for 12% interest. I usually put it at 12% interest, and I didn't start there. I started at 0%. I put it at 12% interest and allow the buyers to work to feel like they've got a good deal. So if we're selling it for $40,000, we're going to put $1,000 down. So we'll finance $48,000. And I ask you how much afford each month, and you roughly, I don't know, I can afford about $500 a month. Great.
Okay.
48,000, 30 years at 12% interest, 500 a month. I'm actually going to collect about 177 grand on that one parcel of land. And when I sell or finance a parcel of land, I try and 3x my money. Well, if
Gotcha.
I'm buying it for 10,000, I want to sell it for 30. If I'm buying it for 5,000, I want to sell it for 15,000. So that's kind of the quick and easy on how I would work.
Man, that's amazing. You just said 3x your money, Brent. And here's the crazy
Before
thing.
interest.
Yeah, that's before. Okay, I want to follow this. I want to take this baby steps one more time here. You use 12% interest, but you like to say, hey, you're negotiable on the end price, right? That's okay. Let's say I said, hey, Brent, I want to do 45,000 on this. You said,
yeah,
okay, well, if we can do seller financing, $1,000 down, you're okay with that, right?
Yeah, if you wanted to work me down to 45,000, sure. Can you put maybe 3,000 down?
Okay.
Because it's the whole rule of negotiation. If they ask, okay, now they got to give something, or you tell me, no, I can only go forward 400 a month, but you're cool with the $49,000 purchase price, and I can't get your payment to 400 a month because I'm at interest. I'll just bump that thing down to 6% interest or 8% interest and get you at the payment I never go past 30 years. That just seems wrong, honestly. Because and they don't ever go 30 years. Most of the time I don't know. We've got one that's we did a 30-year mortgage back in 2016 off sometime. So that was a good run. I got about 8 years of pretty much interest only payments.
Yeah, got you. Because that's the game, because that's the payments are interest only. So it's truly your money coming in for cash flow. It's not reducing the principal that they actually owe on the property.
Fully amortized. It is fully amortized. We don't do balloons because I think you're setting your buyers up for failure.
Yeah.
If you come at them with a balloon or interest only, they've got to pay it down. And that's just me and how I do it. Some people do interest only. Some people lease it and then give them an option to buy. There's so many ways you can do it.
So yeah, you do $500 a month fully amortized, which means, hey, I'm paying some interest to you and I'm paying down some principal each time I make a payment, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so then the cool part about this is, Brent, you're still making it a win for me because now I'm able to get into this piece of land that I have a vision for, a future for, and it really works well for my financials too. It's better a lot of times than the bank maybe can give me, or if I don't look good on paper to the bank, right? Is that you seeing the win-win on both sides of the table here?
Absolutely. That one that's paying off next week, they actually sold it for $350,000, and they only bought it from me for $159,000. So they're making a fortune. I bought it for $75,000, so I did pretty well also.
Yeah.
And it's just. And the reason for the 12%, some people might balk at that, think, oh man, that's a little bit too high of an interest rate. And you want to know your state laws.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever state, like say, for instance, Colorado, I know I can't go over 12%. You can with written documents, actually, but we keep it there. We don't want to operate in the shadows, and I want to sleep well at night. That is success for me. You got to sleep well at night. Yeah. But that 12% gives me a lot of opportunity. For example, I just borrowed 40 grand from my in-laws, and they wanted to outrun inflation. So we're paying them 9% interest on their $40,000 loan, but we bought a property that's worth 90, a parcel of land that's worth 90. And we had a buyer that day that gave us $5,000 down. So we got to pocket that money. I didn't give it to mother-in-law. But we're charging 12% interest. So my buyer's paying 12% interest on 90,000, and I'm paying my mother-in-law 9% interest on 40,000. So it's a great arbitrage. And we're going to pay off my mother-in-law in 5 years, and my buyer's going to pay off in 13 and a half years. So we'll make a little over 100 grand on just that one deal that we have none of our own money into.
Man, this is cool to hear, Brent. This is a big aha for you. Like when you came across this, was this like, wait, I think I get it. I think this could really work. It's kind of like what's happening to me right now.
I remember where I was sitting. Right? I remember where I was sitting because that first one, that first payment that I got $400 a month on, and I would be more than happy we can give the strategies on how I'm doing these land deals. I don't want to just be fluffery out here. I want to show people how they can do this today and start changing their life like it changed mine. But that first land deal I bought for $285, it was not buildable. It was an inefficient parcel of land. So most people would overlook that. Well, I had $285, but I wasn't willing to put it in a deal very long. So I called the real estate company that was close to the land, and the realtor actually made an offer to me for $5,000. So I was able to, take $285 and turn it into $5,000 overnight. And the next land deal I bought was for $500. And that one I was like, oh my God, I don't know what this is worth. You got to trespass to get to the land. It's surrounded by state property. It's roughly 5 acres. So I paid $500 for that one. I put it on Craigslist that night, which was a Saturday night. By Sunday, I had someone that offered me $500 down, exactly what I was asking, because I wanted my money back out of the deal. I was nervous. I still didn't know if this worked. And I heard about a guy doing it on a podcast. That's how I figured this out. $500 out of it, and he paid me $400 a month for a total of $5,000, 0% interest. That's the one that changed my life. I remember where I was finally realized he had paid me like 3 payments. And I was like, this is crazy. I can keep doing this. And 9 months later, I was almost at $9,000 a month.
Wow, man. This is cool. And so I want to take this back now. I love the storytelling. I appreciate you sharing some of those early wins, because the question we're going to get and that people are asking right now, I'm sure, is like, okay, how the heck do we do it? How the heck does this work? So I do want to get into, how does land investing actually work? One of the people in our community, Mackenzie, shout out to you, in Passive Income University, asked, how much does location matter? And I even had some different questions around if you can rent the land out, or is it, there's just some different ways in which people are thinking about this. So set the story straight here, Brent.
Yeah, you could do anything you want to. You can get as creative as you like. That first deal I bought for $75,000, the seller to finance it to me with it at 0% interest. So I paid $400 a month, and every time I paid $400, my actual mortgage went down $400. Yeah. Yes, you can rent it out. My dad has 21 acres, and he rents out 10 of those acres out to a hunter, because it's cypress swamp, and it's surrounded by kind of like Bureau of Land Management. We call it South Florida Water Management here in Florida. But a guy and he pays $6,000 a year to use that land. So he's just renting it out. He'll never own it from my father, and it helps my dad, pay a couple mortgage payments, basically. Mm-hmm. So there's so many things you can do, and I think, I don't know, did I answer the question? It's like the end of my day.
Yeah, totally understand, man. And the one about location, like, are people that you work with or that you're helping do this, or that are getting this type of thing launched, because I know you have some material out there to help get people started, can they do this in their backyard, or are there certain locations that are better than others, right?
Both answers, yes. I prefer to start out when I'm teaching someone, I prefer them to kind of start with it about a 2.5 hour radius of where they currently live, because there's power of being able to go and stand on the land, taste the dirt, lick the leaf. No, I'm just kidding. There's power behind that. My dad, I got him going and taking buyers out there, and he does really good selling this land, because he takes his buyers out there and I'm with him. He rides them around. So that, but what if you're in one of those areas where there's like land, or land's not selling? So then you want to get on Zillow or Redfin. And I love to go where the demand is at. How do you know where there's demand? Well, go to Redfin, go to filters, all filters, and click sold, and then select land only, just the land, and then scroll down 3 months. See if you can see any clusters of sold land. And that's how to see where the demand's at. And then each one of them, and you see what size it is, what it's selling for. You can figure out what the price per square foot is by like taking all of them and averaging them. You can also see another cool thing: who the land sales specialist realtor is, who it's by, who it was sold by, because that's going to be your best friend, because they're going to know the ins and outs of each street. Everyone's doing all the business. So yes, location absolutely matters. When I first started out, I was buying land everywhere. I bought a bunch of land in the middle of nowhere. Now, it was selling, but it was selling slowly, and I had to work hard to sell it. I would mail the neighbor Craigslist. I would put signs all over the place. I would put signs all over Colorado Springs and sell land in Arizona. So Colorado Springs, Colorado, selling land in Arizona with signs. And I would put it on Facebook Marketplace and Facebook buy sell groups. Now I've kind of evolved a little bit where I buy like bigger, more expensive parcels that realtors sell, and I don't have to do as much dishing or as much selling. So there's ways to start out with that. But yeah, location does matter.
Okay. And that was really good advice on just looking at the hot areas, doing some of the research. And then I love the starting kind of in your area where you could drive to, stand on it, maybe getting some of those wins under your belt. That all makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, let's get into the beginning. Let's get into the step one. Like if someone says, hey, I'm diversified, maybe I've got a couple of streams of income coming in, passive income streams even, but I'd like to explore this. Like, where would you take us next?
Yeah, step one, I kind of talked about it, picking your playground, picking your area you want to invest in. So let's just say that you're in Orlando, Florida. Well, go to Redfin, put in Orlando, Florida, and then go to all filters, click that, and then click sold. You want to see what's selling. I mean, listings are great, but we want to see what buyers are saying, what the buyers are doing. So what's sold, and then click land, and then click 3 months and start. Well, one more step, go back to Orlando and hit the X button because we want to X out of Orlando. Now we're at that map, and I want to zoom out a little bit, and I'm looking for clusters of solds, and I'm going to go wherever there's a cluster. You can use, like, for example, Lehigh Acres, Florida. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be overwhelming to see how many parcels of land have sold in the last 3 months. So then we have to back out a little bit. Okay, let's just go to 7 days. Oh, wow. Still, 60 parcels of land sold in 7 days. Okay, there's a little bit of demand there. All right, what's the price per square foot? Well, let's pick a section of a neighborhood. Let's get micro. Real estate is very micro communities. So I went down to the neighborhood. So I'm going to pick that section where the most solds are at, and I'm going to click on each one of those. All right, this one sold for 18,000. This one sold for 19,000. Sold for 20,000. How many square foot? 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. Okay, well, let's just say 10 sold in the last 7 days. You add all 19, 20, 21,000. You add up all the prices and then divide it by how many you added up, which is, let's say 8. Now you know the average parcel, what the average parcel sold for, and they're all 10,000 square foot. So now you can figure out that, okay, selling for, let's just say 100,000, it's selling for $100 a square foot. Mm-hmm. So now you know the price per square foot, where is it the most demand and what size parcels in the most demand. Now we need to get landowners.
Yeah.
So we go to wherever we pull our list. I love PropStream. I love using Prime. If your listeners want a 7-day free trial to PropStream, the landsharkslist.com, you can pull a list of vacant land owned. I just keep it simple. Remember, I talked about that, like that neighborhood. We want streets. It's like, okay, this one's Eagle Street. This one's, street. This one's First Street. This one's Second Street. So we're going to go on PropStream and draw and pull all those land records, those land owners for those streets that own that land. And we want to pull the 10,000 square foot parcels because that's the only ones we priced.
Yeah.
And then we could send them a very sick, what I call the LOL, the land offer letter, for 50 cents on the dollar. So if they're all selling for 20, send them an offer for $9,872. And if anybody wants a copy of that land offer letter, just go to the landsharks.com/LOL, land offer letter. And we laugh out loud when we get these back because we just got a parcel of land under contract at 50 cents on the dollar. Now I have a couple decisions. Well, first I want that land specialist realtor that I already talked about how to find on Zillow or Redfin. You just spend a little bit more. When you click on the parcel, you can see who it was listed by and who it was bought by. And when you see a pattern like Bill Brown, man, he's the one selling all the land here. That's who I'm going to call and say, hey, can you look at this property on 123 Main Street? I've got it under contract. what do you think the 30-day blowout price is for it? I want to sell this thing. So I don't want it sitting on the MLS very long. I got to get my money back out of this, or I'm only under contract for 45 days. So Bill Brown's going to tell you, oh yeah, man, you could probably blow that one out for 19 grand. You got it for 10,000. You have an asset under contract at a discount, and now you need to make a decision. Am I going to assign this to a cash buyer for maybe, 15,000 and make a quick 5 grand? Or am I going to buy it for 9,875, whatever I said it was, and flip it for 19 grand? Or am I going to buy it and then seller finance it and get a monthly passive income check coming in? That's my preferred method.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to say, man. You actually would prefer that consistency, that passive income check. But I'm sure, like, you'll take a cash offer. Seeing real estate land, yeah, you'll take a cash offer for your ROI and keep rolling, right?
And I'll tell you, I've trained a lot of people on how to do this, and a lot of them go for that. And I just caution them, get some seller financing notes. A note is basically they promise to pay you. They got to go to work, so they can pay you each month for that land. I like to mix it up a little bit. So we'll do a couple cash deals where we'll sign our contract, like sell the contract to a where we never actually purchase the land. So we don't need money to do that. You don't need money to invest in real estate. And we'll bank account, we'll get like 25, 35,000. And then I'll buy that $30,000 parcel that's worth 90 and sell it for 500 a month, because those are the ones I get excited about, because every time I do those, I increase my income. Cash ones, that's like a job. I got to go back to work tomorrow and find another one. But this one I just sold, I already told you the example with my mother-in-law, that one's going to pay me for 13 and a half years, $946 a month. So it's just like, I like to do those because now I can go on vacation for a week and know that next month we're going to make 20 grand.
Man, that is awesome, Brent. I think you're really breaking down some, barriers for people that are saying there's only one way to do this stuff, right? And just some big ahas on the simplicity, but also there's some little tweaks that are so important that you mentioned, man. I really appreciate you going through, finding your zone, getting the price per square footage, getting into the landowners, getting them a land offer letter, like you call it, LOL. Man, this is really great stuff. We've got to take a little break. Amazing first half of the episode here. But when we come back, I want to keep going down the journey down the path, the rabbit hole of the numbers behind some of the deals you've done.
Sure.
You've done an awesome job sharing so far, but I'm excited to continue this conversation. Episode 27, Investing in Land versus Homes with Brent Bowers. We'll be right back. Hey, wanted to take a quick break from this week's episode, wondering if you've been asking yourself the question, how do I get started in this stuff? Or what are the next steps? Or where are people that are thinking the same way I am, or that are already doing this stuff? People that are on their passive income journey. Well, we were getting this question a lot, and that's why we were prompted to create a community of like-minded investors and entrepreneurs that we call Passive Income University. This is a place where we have a library of videos of things we've done and ways you can educate yourself on the passive income space. Well, we've brought in experts and had conversations of people that have done this, are currently doing this, and have completed certain parts of this. We have gathered a collection of tools, information, spreadsheets, checklists for you to use in order to continue on your journey in the passive income space. We are going to learn and grow together in order for us to start, take next steps, and complete our passive income journey. If you're curious about taking your next steps, check out our website at p25kg.com, where you can apply to be a part of Passive Income University today. We are back on the Passive 25K podcast with Kyle Reedstrom. Our guest, Brent Bowers, is talking to us about investing in land versus homes, which we're going to get into a little bit about that because, Brent, you've done both. But I love the statistics that you've shared with us so far in this episode. I think it's really making this a lot, turning this alive for people is what I'm trying to say. And Brent, you mentioned a deal you did with your mother-in-law. I'd love for you to dive into the specific numbers behind that and just walk us through how that works and how it affects you, how it affects her, all the details in between, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually have it on the whiteboard because I broke it down for the Land Sharks community the other day. It's a little ugly, but I wasn't prepared to show it for this. But can you see that? Can you see that, Kyle?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So again, that purchase price was $40,000, and this deal was completely none of our own money into it. And we sold it for 90,000. And how do we know what it was worth? This is a piece of land out in Colorado. We were looking at other sold comparables. Now, there was a little bit of a backstory behind this one. We had to get through probate and all that stuff. But the good thing is there's attorneys out there that specialize in that. And some people probably wonder why in the world would someone want to sell a piece of land that's worth 90 for 40,000? Well, we helped this lady out through all the legal issues. Her husband purchased it many years ago. He passed away, and we just took care of everything. And she just wanted 40 grand, really. And she's really the one that gave us the price. So we found out it was worth about 90. We found a buyer during this 1 year process it took us to buy this parcel of land. Well, that buyer had 5 grand to put down, and we looked at his pay stubs, and we found out he can definitely make the payment. So his monthly payment is $926 a month, and that's $5,000. And I messed up when I said 12 there. This one's only 9%. I was confusing another one. So I just want to make that disclaimer and just clarify my mistake. And my team did this entire deal. Jen's the one that put it together. She found the buyer and the seller for this. So I just was the one that secured the lending. So we also charge a $20 a month note service fee. So what does that pay? That basically pays my bookkeeper. I don't really get to keep that money. But when you do 100 notes, those note service fees really add up. So when I first started this business, I didn't charge a note service fee. We also charge a documentation fee. Like you buy a car, you're going to pay like a documentation fee somewhere around $800, $399. But we pay we have a doc fee that we charge as well. And that pays our land sales specialist to help us sell these parcels of land and put the paperwork together. Well, so $946 a month, and we're paying $830 a month. So not a big spread, right? She's going to be paid off in 5 years. My buyer's going to pay his loan off in 13 and a half years. So we're making only $115 a month, plus that down payment of 5 grand that we got right off the bat. Let me flip this board really. This is kind of the deal breakdown. So we got the $5,000. 5 years. Remember, we're paying my mother-in-law so we can get her paid off. Hers is fully amortized as well. So we're only going to keep about $115 a month for 60 months. So that turns out to almost $7. But what's really cool, is still going to have 96 months left to go if he doesn't pay it off early of $946 a month. So that's $90,000 right there. And if you add the monthly payments, that equals about $102,000 over the course of this loan. And they'll ask me, oh man, what if he pays off quickly? Did you charge a prepayment penalty? Heck no, I would never set up a buyer not to want to pay me off, because if I can get that quick profit, remember we bought it for 40, we sold it for 90, that's 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. I'd rather collect 50 grand today than 102 grand over 13 years. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the breakdown. And we gave my mother-in-law the first lien on it. So she's got a deed of trust and a promissory note, because this is Colorado. So check with your local, real estate attorney. What's better is a foreclosure attorney. They can set you up for the best documents. But that's how we had to set it up in Colorado. And stopped paying my mother-in-law, which I'd never do that. My wife would not allow it. She's got a mortgage on a property that's less than 50 cents on the dollar, loan to value.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an amazing win, man. This is just awesome. And I love the little tactics that you shared on, like the note service fee, the doc fee, as you're adding in some of these services, as you're getting more professional with this, understanding, hey, we're taking care of parts of the process. You talk about in some of your videos, putting this on autopilot. I sense that this is some of those tactics.
Yeah. We use bill.com to pay my mother-in-law each month, so we don't have to think about it. Because I don't want to be sitting at, Sunday dinner. She's like, hey, you haven't paid us this month. That'd be awkward. And then also each month, the payment comes out automatically out of my buyer's bank account. And we track it all with a note servicing and I can go and look at the dashboard. My buyer can go in and change his bank account or print out his tax statements. What's really cool, I was on there before we aired this podcast, and I was like, what did we pull in interest already for 2023? We're only 2 months into it. We've already pulled in almost $6,000 worth of interest. That's like pretty. I used to do 0% financing for the first several years. So how I figured out that was, I think it was like 2018. We did one loan where the guy was like, look, the IRS wants me to pay you interest. So we did like 4%, 4.5% interest, because he's like, my accountant says I got to pay interest on this note. So he's like, okay, cool. So I saw where we collected like, it was almost $9,000 in interest. And I was like, something went off, another light bulb. And I'm kind of a slow learner. I got to make mistakes to learn it. Something went off, and I was like, if we can collect $9,000 this year, what if we collected $18,000 the next year? So we just started charging interest.
Yeah, man. That makes sense. And it's something that's normalized. People know when they're lending or they're borrowing money that interest is a part of it. It can be a big win. This can be an amazing interest collection system for you. Like that you said, that cash flow, that passive income. Dude, thank you for breaking down that deal. You mentioned some mistakes. You mentioned, things you've had to learn the hard way, possibly. And I always want to equip our listeners, if they're thinking about something or, new ideas are happening. What are some of the blind spots with this, man? What are the things to look out for?
Yeah, I made a bunch of mistakes really quickly. One mistake, man, I don't know how much time we have, but one mistake I had actually, when I was the executive officer for a forward support company, supporting an infantry battalion in the military. If you have any military listeners, you know what I'm talking about. But I had a pretty stressful job, and I was really trying to build this up. But I was buying these at like 10 cents on the dollar in Colorado when I first started. And I could get away with that back then. It was totally a buyer's market for land. It's kind of shifted into a seller's market right now, but I think we're going back down to a buyer's market with this housing that's going on. But basically, I got a piece of land under contract from a bank. I was offering 20 grand. I didn't know exactly what it was worth. This is like Zillow and Redfin comping system that high-tech system I just went over on the first part of this. I wasn't doing that back then. I had no do that. But I would look at the assessed value and blah, blah, blah. And I would just try and get it so low where my margin of safety was so large I couldn't mess up. So I offered the bank 20 grand. It was a piece of back, and they weren't paying the back taxes on it. The bank wasn't. It was weird. So the banker calls me on a Friday. He goes, look, I'm not going to negotiate this anymore. We've been negotiating for 3 months. And I kept saying 20 grand, 20 grand, 20 grand. He goes, you give me 25 or don't ever call me again. I said, send the purchase agreement. So I made the edit. He signed it that night. I didn't sleep because I was like, I don't have $25,000. And my bank had like $100 in it back then. This is like my 5th land deal, by the way. So I took my wife to the Denver airport, my wife and my newborn son, and I went to work Saturday. And I remember I talked about those signs. I stuck signs out everywhere. 38K, 44 acres, phone number. And this is right next to Schriever Air Force Base in Colorado Springs. So this land's worth like 100 grand back then. It's probably worth like 200,000 now. No, actually way more. So by the time I put out like 15 signs, someone calls me and says, get your blah, blah, blah. I won't say that. I won't say the cuss words, and I'm like, okay, yes, sir. So I'm still putting signs out, and another phone rings again. I'm bracing for impact. I'm like ready for the torpedoes. There's a reason why I have a rhino behind me. You got to be prepared to charge and take on the torpedoes. Rhinos have like 3-inch thick skin.
Yes.
So I'm really nervous. I'm about to get cussed out again. This is Sweet Texan on the other line. He goes, hey, I see your signs popping up as I'm driving. And I've been searching. We sold our ranch 2 weeks ago. We've been searching for land out here in Colorado, and we're seeing these signs pop up. These are yellow, ugly, handwritten signs. I was using the bandit signs, and I would write on the back with a black Magnum marker. And he's like, where are you at? And I was like, well, I'm down the street. He's like, I want to see this land. So we met, and we shook hands right there for $38,000. I had it under contract for 25. So do the math. I'm going to keep the difference. I'm going to sign my contract over. So I'm going to make like $13,000 on this land deal. This was life-changing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the next day I get another phone call from another man. He said, if you've got 44 acres, I'll give you, he shot me a number. Roughly, it was a little over 14 grand, what me and the Texan had already agreed on via handshake.
Yeah.
And I call the Texan back and I say, hey, I'm sorry. I just can't do this deal. But here's what I'll do for you. I'll split the extra that I'm going to make. I'm going to make like 14 grand more if I sell it to this guy. I'll give you 7 grand just because we shook hands. He goes, absolutely not. I want the land. You agreed to it. You gave me your word. And the hardest thing I ever did was said, you're right. Let's do the deal. We already agreed. And that like extra 14 grand or that extra 7 grand at that time would have been life-changing for me. So I thought, but being able to tell the story, and it's not really a mistake. I kept my word, sold them land, and did so many more deals. Like 14,000 is nothing now.
Yeah.
But there's so many other mistakes. Like I didn't do title searches. I didn't do I bought a piece of land one time with $157,000 IRS tax lien on it because I didn't do a simple $5 title search.
Wow.
So it's educate yourself. Like I was just running so fast, making so many fast mistakes. And then I hired a coach after I made a ton of money in land, but I also had some failures too.
That makes sense, man. If you don't know how to do something, man, partner with the people that can guide you, right? And I mean, you touched on the liens on properties, right? Like these are the things to look out for in real estate investing in general with homes, but with land, there can be taxes attached to these things, different liens, right? That's what you've experienced. You find that often?
Yeah, absolutely. So I going back to that $157,000 IRS tax lien, I ended up buying that parcel of land for like $300, and I never recorded my deed that I got from this seller. And I had it sold already, pre-sold for $16,000. Like I'm going to spend $300 to make $16,000. I was like, I don't even know what the return on investment that is. I need a calculator, but and who cares? I was like 16,000. So title company comes back and says, okay, this is a treasurer's deed. So basically your title is clouded, all these little things. And you got to pay off these liens for the city has been mowing it. And oh, by the way, there's $157,000 Irish tax. So I was like just distraught.
Yeah.
And man, I just put this deed in my filing cabinet for about a year. And then I finally hired a coach and I told him about this land deal, the $157,000 tax lien, blah, blah, blah. He goes, those things fall off after like a certain time. I was like, wait a minute, what? So I found a investor-friendly title company. How did I find it? I actually called the 3 biggest house flippers in Colorado Springs at that time. I said, who do you use? And they kept saying, Tammy, Tammy, Tammy. I said, okay, Tammy can figure this out. Well, she got some of those liens removed. IRS tax lien didn't exist anymore. And I sold it for $35,000 on payments. And that buyer actually finally just paid it off about 3 weeks ago.
My gosh, the swing with that, Brent. That's
1 year later.
A coach guided you and put $157 burden to rest, essentially, right? 157,000, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that was one of my best deals. Like I'll never forget that deal. I shouldn't say that's my most profitable deal, but it was $534 a month. I still remember the payment, and that was another 0% interest one. But still, the markup from spending a couple $100. Oh yeah, by the way, we had to pay $5,000 to the city for mowing the grass. Like I think that was a ripoff, but anyhow.
Oh man,
buyer paid the down payment.
Part of this, Brent, you've seen investing in cash flow from both sides. You've been doing the land thing. It's worked well, but you also play in the residential, or not residential, maybe commercial, multifamily, residential real estate investing game. What do you see as the differences? Because we have a lot of people that invest in homes. I invest in homes. It's one of the most common things out there. But what are your I know you might be biased on one side, but I'd love to get your perspective on how to compare these two.
Yeah, I was a house flipping junkie for a little while there, and I'll tell you why. I was feeding my ego. because it was really cool to go in and take this dirty, nasty cat pee house and turn it into something that someone would want to live in. Well, with that, like that comes with contractors and people stealing from you and breaking in and just all kinds of riffraff. So we flipped, I think I flipped probably 40 houses. But also I have rentals too, because here's the thing about land. There's no tax benefits to it, but you have a house, like you get to do what's called, you get to depreciate that house and really save a ton of money on your taxes. Why does the government do that? The IRS wrote those rules for you to benefit because you're providing housing, because the government already tried to do government housing and that failed miserably. Like go to Michigan and you'll see. Sorry, Michigan. I'm not trying to bash on them. But so they give you tax benefits for that. You can do like things called cost segregation and virtually pay no money in taxes. So I'll take this land income and I'll call my CPA about, I don't know, early September, say, hey, what's the taxes looking like this year? And if he says $50,000 or $100,000, we'll just go and do down payments on a building. Sometimes we syndicate a 19-unit apartment complex, or we bought a lake house right before COVID. And I had this grand idea. I'm going to do this lake. I'm going to do an Airbnb. And I was like, I am the smartest person in the world. I bought this lake house. We took 60 grand and we booked it out for 3 months. And then I fly back to Colorado in March when we heard about this thing called COVID-19, and all those people canceled. The house sat vacant for almost a year, but now it's cool. We enjoy it now, and it's actually making money. But that helped us with taxes. So there's a lot of upkeep though with Airbnb. I've had 3 of them. We still have 1 left, but that's a whole nother ball of wax when it comes to management. That 19-unit apartment complex, that was a D minus when we bought it. It's getting closer to like a B by this point, but that was the hardest thing I've ever done. We've been renovating this thing for 3 years. When you get in commercial, you have to have like architects and engineers. And we went in like guns a-blazing, like we're flipping a house. That doesn't work when you're in commercial. So we rebuilt the foundation and then had to wait like 8 months for the architect and the engineer. Oh my gosh, what a pile of money. We're finally getting that halfway stabilized. But that seller, anybody that had $600 and could sign their name on a lease, he got them in there to pad the numbers. But yeah, it's just interesting. We've bought houses where dogs were eating. There's the owner and they were, passed away for a while. So houses are just dirty. And the sellers are emotional, and land is just so much cleaner. And on the sell side, tenants are very, I love tenants. They need a lot of things. Mm-hmm. They're like my 3-year-old kids sometimes. But land buyers, they only call you when they want to make an extra payment, or they want to buy more land, or I don't know, or they need to change their bank account.
Man, I definitely hear like the management aspect of homes versus land, like the management of land. It's not there, but I love that you bring up that homes can do the tax benefit thing, Yeah. That's a huge piece. But I just recently had this conversation, Brent, with somebody that was saying, hey, I'm thinking about getting into homes, or, I've also thought about getting into like a 20 plus unit apartment complex. And I said, there's interesting aspect of real estate investing, whether it's homes or a larger complex, where these investments are make or break on the management. I mean, you can have a C property that has an A plus manager and you can look like a genius, but you can have an A plus property managed at a C plus level and it is going to drain you. And the crazy thing is, if you get into the more commercial style investments, your valuation is based on your management, your NOI, your net operating income. And if your expenses are high and your income's down because there's vacancies, all of a sudden you bought something for $1 million and it's worth $800,000 pretty quickly if it's not managed correctly, And so that was a recent conversation. And I hear that when you talk land versus homes or other investments, you got to consider this management thing.
I'll tell you, I did partner with an A plus property manager. His name is Colin Smith. He owns Solid Rock Realty out in Colorado Springs. one of the smartest dudes I've ever met, and he is he's a majority owner on it, but he manages it as well. And if it wasn't for him, we probably would have crashed and burned on this 19plex, because I fizzled out. I lost interest.
Yeah.
I'm like kind of like in and out type guy, and he's just very slow and consistent. I shouldn't say not because he's slow, but he's consistent and steady, and he'll keep chiseling away.
Man,
so partner with good people.
That's huge, and partner with managers. If and that's the thing with people getting into this. The land aspect doesn't have that piece, which is really something to noodle on. Brent, we're running out of time, but I really want to get a little bit of insight into your own passive income journey. What's your vision? What's next for you with this? How are you continuing to build and create lifestyle? I heard you're taking off some time in March. Everybody listening has that vision where they can, maybe not work all the hours of the week, or maybe not work 12 months a year, creating this lifestyle by design. So talk to us about yours.
Yeah, lately I've been focusing on something called Parkinson's law. And when I was in the military, all I wanted to do was get out so I can have time with my family and do things I wanted to do. And we do that, but I still work a lot of hours because I like doing it. But I have to keep resetting myself back to why I got out of the military, was to have more time with the family, to be an amazing father, amazing amazing husband, better Christ follower, and my life will get out of balance. So I'm trying to rebalance life again right now, working more on my physical fitness and my fathering duties, and also being a better husband to my wife, because she's backed me up on this vision this entire time. So basically, my goal for this year, and everyone you hear on these podcasts is like, I'm going to do 50,000 by next year. I am really content with $21,000 a month coming in passive income. I'll do a few deals. I keep looking at my board here. I've got about 5 land deals. We're buying like 18 parcels in Hawaii right now. And that's really it. I'm doing less deals, but bigger spreads, so I can keep feeding the machine. That way the machine doesn't stop. It's like, perfect example is those old well pumps you see on farms and ranches. Like, you got to pump it and get all the air out, and eventually the air goes out and then there's water, and you're pumping that thing like crazy. Well, after that water starts flowing, you can really slow down that pump. And that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm slowing the pump down, but I'm not going to stop pumping it.
That's awesome, man. I think that's such an important piece. Balance. Can you explain Parkinson's law to our audience?
Yeah, I breezed over that. So Parkinson's law, that any task or activity will expand with the time you give it. So if I told you, hey, you got 6 months to write this 8,000 page paper, I'm really just going crazy right now. That would be such a burden. 6 months, you'd be worried about that thing. Or I just say, hey, you owe me a 800 page paper by tomorrow night. You have 24 hours to do it. You could bang that thing out in 24 hours because you would be laser vision focused. But if I gave you 6 months, I just basically gave you a task that you can do in one night that's going to take you 6 months. Now, granted, 800 pages, that's a lot. So probably, simplify that a little bit. But same thing when we were like, I just want to quit my job. But you start this business that's earning you $9,000, $10,000 a month while you're doing that job that's taking 12 hours a day. I used to work 12 hours a day for the Army, easy. And I still figured out a way to find time to do my land business. I would get up at 4 a.m. I would work the lunch breaks. I would go back to work after my wife and kids would go to bed. And at the computer, I wouldn't leave the house. But now that I've got all this time, other things expand. I'm doing this over here. I'm doing the Land Sharks coaching. We're building a house on a piece of land. And it's like, and these things, I'm like, oh my God, I'm back to 15-hour days again. And I'll pull out of a bunch of things or sell some properties or, and just start slowing down. That's Parkinson's law. It's just expanding the time we have it, or the time we give it. The task expands to the time we give it.
Man, that's a good nugget. It's a good nugget at the end of this great episode. Brent, you've shared a ton of stuff with us. So many notes that I have, and I think a lot of just questions that people might have to follow up, right? So how can people find you? How can people learn more about this and walk down this path?
Yeah, absolutely. I give every day I do a video on TikTok. I just started TikTok. Follow me on TikTok, Brent L. Bowers. If you want to send me a message, my Instagram handle is Brent L. Bowers, and as in Brent Land Bowers, Brent L. Bowers. Um, and if you want me to hold your hand and show you how to build a land investing business that will give you financial freedom and build a financial fortress around you and your family that nothing will ever get through, head on over to thelandsharks.com, fill out the form, schedule a call. I'd be honored to hold your hand and teach you how to build this business.
Cool, man. I think that a lot of people will have interest in follow you on Instagram, TikTok. That's awesome that you're putting out content, and this is such a cool topic matter. Brent, we've really enjoyed having you on episode 27. Thanks for being here, man.
God bless, Kyle.
This has been another episode of the Passive 25K podcast with Kyle Reedstrom. If you liked what you heard today, I encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like this video so we can get more of these conversations out to people that are curious about starting their passive income journey. And if you are thinking about starting your passive income journey, the next steps are to go to our website at p25kg.com and hit apply. This will get you into our application to join our community called Passive Income University, where you can learn everything there is to know about starting and completing your passive income journey. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll catch you next time for another conversation on the Passive 25K podcast.